Hello everyone, this is Kestrel, and we have quite a bit to get through tonight. So, this Monday, October the 28th, 2019, President Trump addressed the American citizens. I've just got to tell this story. Okay, so on the night of the 27th, which was Sunday night, the U.S. military forces had run ISIS founder and leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi down in a nocturnal raid down a dead-end cave and led by this very good, I think, German Shepherd dog. Looks like a German Shepherd in the video that Trump declassified, which is a popular dog breed in America for police and military forces. And if raised well and with love, they can be very good dogs. This dog's name is apparently Conan, like the famous cartoon and book series Barbarian, who is more of a ruffian, or so it is said in the novels than the cartoons. I've never read the Conan books, but that's beside the point. It's such a badass name. Chased Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi down the cave. Baghdadi had his 3 young children he had dragged with him into the cave, and when he saw no way out, whimpering and crying as he was run down by the hero canine, he ignited his suicide bomb vest and blew himself into dog chow that also splattered the cave walls. Unfortunately, the blast killed the children too, and there was nothing U.S. forces could do about that. Tragically, it was al-Baghdadi who killed the children, not the soldiers, his own children. President Trump spoke to the world and said the long-hunted leader and founder of terrorist regime ISIS met his end run down and chewed up by a single American military dog. Such a good canine. Such a good boy, Conan. And the leader of ISIS is dead and gone, and good riddance to him. He will not be missed. He will be forgotten. And the dog remembered forever as an American hero. Meanwhile, the left, the Democratic Party, continues to expose themselves as hating everything American when they cheer in glee as giant fires continue to threaten the Reagan Library. Ronald Reagan was being famous for the last president of the United States to really campaign on and enter the presidency, wanting to restore honor to American politics, which I think we all wish there was more of these days. And I mean, to the left, this having any success, this restoration of honor, either among American culture, the American people, American politics, is the ultimate threat to their motive to rot it into corruption and complete totalitarian communism, which would be a disaster no matter who is in office. They have been trying to impeach President Trump since day one, showing they have zero respect or regard for the legitimate votes and preferences of the American people. They wasted our time, and something like $40 million blown of $40 million of American taxpayers' own hard-earned money on a Russian collusion case that had been invented by funding from Hillary Clinton. They had a chance with this Mueller investigation to provide evidence for it. The Mueller investigation failed, turned up really nothing, inconclusive at best. And all throughout 2017, 2018, and the first 4 months of 2019, the Democrats and their mainstream media outlets, such as CNN, which was one of the worst of them that did this, was trying to push every day, every week, that they were right about to find the key, the smoking gun to proving that President Trump and Russia meddled in the 2016 election to fix the results. This turned out to be a completely invented fantasy, not even fairy tale, because some fairy tales are actually good stories. Completely invented falsehood. They moved right on to this Ukraine shit based on a very vague, well, vaguely worded call with the with the Ukrainian government in asking for military aid, and Trump wanted corruption investigated. Democrats tried to pose this based on some whistleblower who we never learned that many details of, had said he was trying to create a quid pro quo. Sorry, I'm tired. It's late at night. Which might well have been impeachable. Turns out that was completely not true. It was botched, and now they brought in this veteran, this patriot, although they've not been very respectful of patriots before, the Democrats. They try to put on a pedestal anyone who speaks out against Trump, but this guy, as we're finding out today, I haven't watched all the footage. Again, it's late at night. I had a lot to do today, but looks like they again have nothing. So they're wasting our time with this impeachment, and they're trying to waste our time. They're trying to distract us from the fact that their agenda is completely bonkers. Not that we haven't seen that very clearly, but they're trying to keep us distracted. We've got to not be distracted. We've got to focus on what they're trying to do to the culture, and I will get to one of the most terrifying examples in just a minute. But they're cheering as this Reagan library is threatened by fires. You know, I've been trying to warn people about the threat of fires for a couple of years now, at least. So when I was in undergraduate university, which was from about 2005 to 2010, I had my last class before graduation in 2011. It was just one class, and it was one that had not been offered before, so I had to wait till then to take it. If it had been offered earlier, I would have taken it earlier and finished in 2010, but these universities drag out the requirements to obnoxious levels. Anyway, so I was mostly done by 2010, and I was planning to go and become an ecologist. It kind of fell apart for a mishmash of very complicated reasons. There was health, there was family, I haven't completely dropped it, but I will have to take a little more time with it. But I think like an ecologist, and I know I made videos of this last year and the year before, I think, or one of those years at least, where I was talking about the California wildfires and how a lot of the dry vegetation, a lot of the droughts during the summer months, they make the vegetation extremely vulnerable to fires. So when the autumn fires come, they completely destroy the vegetation, killing them down to the roots. Well, what plant roots do is they create this kind of plant spider's web of roots that holds the ground, the soil in place. And so anywhere you'll get slopes, which there are a lot of out west in the California area, I don't think so much in the Arizona part, not in the flatter regions, unless I'm getting something confused, and there are a lot of slopes in Arizona. I don't think so. I think Arizona and New Mexico are kind of are more flat than just like Colorado and Wyoming. I know there are flat as well as mountainous, and very slope-filled regions. Uh, California is one in particular, and the Rocky Mountains, of course. When I was in Yellowstone National Park for my summer job in 2006, I was in the middle of the Rocky Mountains. And I have stories to tell about that, but those will have to wait another time. Anywhere you have slopes and fire comes in and kills the vegetation, as well as threaten a lot of course, monuments and homes and villages. I keep trying to warn people about this, and the city and state planners don't listen to the ecologists about this. I have a lot of questions about how credible science is now, because a lot of it is corrupted by politics. But the basic ecological concepts do hold. When the roots are killed in slope areas and you get the snow in winter and then snow melt in the early and middle spring, and you have these rainstorms, that's how you get the mudslides, because the ground is no longer held in place. Almost every year, I keep trying to remind people of this. This will not change. This has been going on since the earth was formed. Okay, this is a very general, it's a very base rule, I guess, just concept. This is just one of the basics in how the landscape works in ecology and geology. And now that this huge fire is threatening the Reagan Library. Reagan was a Republican. He was one of the last honorable American presidents before President Trump. President Trump he's getting better and better in his governing of a lot of aspects of the American government. Like he of course came from the business empire world before, which has some overlap with skill with politics and government, but not in every area. So he was very new to that when he first came. And he had to gradually learn it. And I think what's going on is he's learning a lot better how to do that from afar. His making the call on this military raid and hunting down of Al-Baghdadi was brilliant on so many levels, and you should really watch Michael Knowles' show about all of the levels intertwined here. I will put a link below, as well as to a lot of other references I used for this video. I didn't need references for the ecological bit because I've been studying that on my own since I was like 5 years old. But for the politics and things, I don't really deal with politics myself, so I have to look to other sources. So I will put a link to the references. His reactions on investigations and questions up close still need a lot of work, and Republicans' skill at campaigning for themselves also needs a lot of work. And they really need to start getting creative right now. But the Democrats cheer when American history burns, which should be very clear and should clearly tell you you don't want them in power. But they're trying to distract everyone from that, although they're pretty shameless about it, but that won't matter if they can get power. They respect no one's history. They care for nothing Americans build. They hate people who try to lift themselves up out of bad or unfortunate situations and make a living on their own. They waste giant amounts of our time and money Remember this, it's very important. The government has no money of its own. The only way the government gets money is to spend through taxes. So when the government, no matter which party, look, I'm rooting for the Republican Party, but I also recognize very well that both parties suck at money management. Okay, I know that. Anytime either party or any party wastes money, they're wasting American taxpayers' money. It's not theirs. It's your money they're wasting. So hypothetically, you would want the government to be, you would want them to be somewhat prudent with how they use their money, how they're using your money. However, the left wants to control your life completely. So, okay, so let me backtrack a little bit. I will fully admit that the Republicans are just as wasteful as the Democrats with money, often more so than the Democrats. Plus, they suck at campaigning, which is not good. However, when it comes to choosing who to vote for, and this is the choice you have to make when it comes down to the votes, the Democrats want to control your life completely. They want to destroy your freedoms. They attack your freedoms all the time. Freedom of speech, freedom to bear arms, freedom to spend your own money, to build your own business, to run your business, and to raise your children the way you want to. They want to control that. They want to scrap and burn hard-built history, replace it with only socialism and communism, which, I mean, you should do some research. I'm actually reading the Gulag Archipelago right now. I've just begun it. I bought it a couple weeks ago, and it just came a couple days ago. So I've just started, and already it's getting really scary. That book tells the story of socialism and communism. One quickly becomes the other. You don't want that as your system of government. You really don't. But the left wants to turn America into that. They want to tell you how to live your life in every aspect. And it'll be how they want you to live, not about what you want at all. So they're trying to distract you with these never-ending impeachment stories that really go nowhere, but they take forever to resolve. And they want you to not pay attention to what they're trying to do. You gotta pay attention to what they're trying to do. So be very careful who you vote for. The strategy, the long-term and large-scale strategy I've kind of put together with figuring out who to vote for is, even if you don't like anyone, which is actually pretty common, who you should vote for is who you have very good reason. You do your research on the candidates and vote for the people who look like they're going to do the least amount of interference and the least amount of damage and infringe on your rights the least. Those are who you want to vote for. Even if they're being more wasteful with your money, which is common, which is too common, I know. But you still want to protect your rights first so you can live your life the way you choose to. Okay, so at the same time that all this shit is going on, there have been recent cases of very serious battles fought in the courts about whether children should be allowed to choose whether they get to stay the gender they were born as. It terrifies me to have to talk about this because there's this completely deranged idea that if a boy makes a single statement about being a girl or liking girly things, he is in serious danger at any age of the school and or government authorities saying, oh, he actually thinks he is a girl. So we should begin forcing him to transition and start giving him hormone blockers. And if his parents try to fight it, he needs to be removed from the home and raised and given unnatural injections by the state, which is pure evil. This should never have gotten off the ground in any country, but since it has, we need to deal with it, and we need to deal with it fast before it does any more damage. One particular horrifying case took place recently in Texas, where this mother, a pediatrician of all things, although I had more than my fair share of run-ins with pediatricians as a little boy. I was a pretty ill child from birth and really clash with pediatricians. They don't always know what they're doing. Anyway, I'm an adult now. I've overcome this, but this is now threatening other children. I did not have the transgender stuff. I had other stuff that screwed with my development. Story for another time. Anyway, so this mother, this pediatrician, was in a custody battle for her and her now ex-husband's 7-year-old son, James. And this crazy mother was raising this poor boy since he was 3. 3! That's toddler age. Okay, a 3-year-old is still trying to play with plugs in the wall and glass ornaments, things he or she really shouldn't be playing with. And adults need to keep a constant. That's still like death magnet at every couple seconds age. Now, his mother was raising this poor boy since he was a toddler as a girl, which is a horrible thing to do to a boy to begin with. I mean, I should know because I'm a boy myself, or I was a little boy. I'm an adult man now. I just look really young because I had really stunted growth. I had to fight that as well, but this is not my story for another time. So, raising a little boy as a girl because you prefer girls is evil. I'm not even going to say I'm sorry for that. That's just plain, pure evil. I grew up with 3 sisters. Well, 2 sisters and a half brother and sister who were born in the early 2000s. So there are 5 kids from my family. My family is kind of millennial and gray area between millennial to Gen Z ages. The millennial to Gen Z gray area ages of the kids in my family are my half brother and sister. They're teenagers now. So I was born in 1985, end of summer 1985. My first sister was born in 1987, and my second sister was born in 1995. So we've got quite an age range, but it's all the millennial and beginning of Gen Z generation. And so, but we did have some time where all 5 of us were still very young together. And the boys watch girl shows with the girls, and the girls watch boy shows with the boys. We would all watch shows together. And, boys watched some of the girl shows with the girls, as I just said. And some of those stereotypically girl shows, I need to slow down. Girly shows were, story-wise, not bad. And the girls thought the same of some of the boys' shows. The whole idea of this gender stereotypes, first of all, it's not a bad thing, okay? There's this idea that it's a bad thing. No, it's not a bad thing. It's bad when you force it. But letting kids watch what they want to watch, as long as it's age appropriate. That's say a little girl wants to watch all girly shows. Perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with the very fact that that a lot of people think there's something wrong with that. I don't know where that idea comes from. Tastes diversify as you get older. Boys like a lot of boy shows, and siblings who grew up together often like a lot of mixed shows because a lot of these, a lot of, well, mostly from the early 90s and 1980s were much better shows of both types, because recently there has been a real plummeting in creativity just overall. Over the course of the 2010s, mostly. The 2000 to 2010, so just the 2000s, I think, they're still pretty good. That was a peak of a lot of creativity and awesome movies. But point is, if I was a young child today, I'm glad I'm not. But if I was a young child today, I would be terrified of what the Democrats threaten to do to me should they gain power. And parents should be paying attention. They should be paying a lot more attention than they are to the threat the Democrats pose. In little James's case, his mother had been telling him stories since he was 3. Remember, that's little toddler age. There was a monster in his closet that would eat little boys, and he would only be safe if he became a girl. Okay, that is deliberate programming of a toddler. Remember, toddler. That he is bad and wrong for being born a boy. As a sick parent, is every bit as cruel and wrong as cultures that prefer boys over girls so much that they give preferential medical care to boys and abort a lot of young girls, which even when I learned the first hints about, as a kid, I always thought that was extremely cruel. I've never supported that. The very idea of that. And I don't support the reverse either. Both are cruel. And we should remember that children are pretty powerless to change what adults choose. So it's adults who need to be the warriors defending the children, and not enough adults are taking that responsibility seriously. If you have a daughter, a little girl, she is, in today's world, shows even the slightest hint of being tomboyish or liking boy things, the legal and academic environment has now been made so toxic and deadly to natural childhood development that she can be taken away from you by the state. This is actually going on in Canada and the UK right now. America is the last, I've referred to it before as the last bastion of freedom, and it needs to stay that way. What's going on now from the Democrats is the idea of now taking that little girl away from her parents by the state taking the little girl away, even if the little girl or little boy screams for his or her parents saying, "Don't let them date me, don't let them date me, no!" I mean, the Democrats, the government will say, well, this is the law now. The child will hate it. It will not, I can't even say it will not end well. It will end in complete disaster. You know where it will end up? This is very easy to do. It will end up in mass suicides of a lot of young people. I can see this very clearly if this is allowed to go through. That children can now, Well, they can't yet in America, and we need to stop it from happening. But what the Democrats are proposing, again, trying to distract you with all this impeachment bullshit, they're trying to push for taking control of the government so they can take the children away from the parents against both the parents' will and the children's will, and chemically alter them into the opposite gender. And who knows what else to them. You have to think this way. You have to learn to think this way. This has nothing to do with transgender tolerance. This is now full-blown chemical engineering of children against their will by the government. And if this goes into law, into national policy, and the parents try to fight back against it, and by the way, a lot of older siblings would try to fight back against it too. If they try to fight against it after it's too late, the Democrats in power will be saying to you, well, you voted this in. Now, we would still try to fight it, and I would still try to fight it tooth and nail, but the battle will be easier to fight and easier to win if we stop it in its tracks before it gets made into policy. This is extremely dangerous, extremely destructive to all children. If you oppose child abuse, you should be fighting against this now. Tooth, nail, email, and every way you can before it's too late. And calling out for others to fight against it too, because we have to put a stop to this now, early on. This has nothing to do with tolerance. That's a distraction too. That saying it's about tolerance is a distraction from the true agenda. This is about children's freedom to grow up as they were born to grow up. James's parents have been tied up in a vicious custody battle, and I think the governor of Texas, Ted Cruz, if that's right, I don't know a lot about who's who in politics in Texas. I live in Ohio, actually not very far south at all of the American-Canadian border. But so Ted Cruz and some other political advocates for children's rights have gotten involved. I don't know what the progress is on their success yet. I will put links to videos that talk about this. I know the podcasters of the Daily Wire did videos on this. Very good videos, and we need people to continue speaking out. James's father has been trying to fight for James's right to remain a boy by himself. He's been the only parent trying to fight for James's right. He was losing the battle fighting by himself because any father or child who has been in the middle of a divorce knows full well that the family courts are horrifically anti-father, completely unjustly and wrong, but it's true. The courts care nothing for the children. I remember that full well from when my parents divorced. They divorced when I was 10. When I was 10 years old, my first sister was 8, and my second sister was a little baby at the time. And what we had to do as siblings is the siblings had to bond together as much as they could and create kind of a sibling shield dynamic with in themselves, which we were sort of able to do because our bond was strong. It wasn't when we were little. I mean, we had the usual sibling rivalry fight when we were very little. It's waned now that we're adults and can take on the world as adults. But as children, I mean, the family situation was a disaster, and it had its consequences for decades and decades and decades. Well, two decades. I mean, we're only in our early 30s, but the damage lasts. It's not something that's decided and then it's done. The damage lasts. And that's what we should be thinking about. The damage that this will do to children will be even worse than what's been done to any previous generation, and that was traumatic enough. So, I do need to end for tonight. I'll make another video soon. I will actually, on November 1st, which is Thursday, the day after Halloween. Halloween is tomorrow. I will try to make a American Kestrel show, Halloween special. I want to talk about the Joker movie. I mean, plenty of people already have. But I want to add my own twist on it, and maybe some other Halloween special stuff. Oh, I built a Yu-Gi-Oh! Ghost Trick deck just for fun, and I want to show you the deck. It's not quite finished yet, but it has every Ghost Trick monster. We will return to this issue and others as well. So I didn't finish about November 1st. Sorry, I go off on tangents when I talk. Anyone who has heard me talk for a length of time knows I go off on tangents because I enjoy reading, I enjoy talking, and I like to put pieces together and connect pieces of different things going on and inspirations, and that's how I go off on tangents. But anyway, so November 1st, I will be traveling to Hillsdale College from Ohio to Hillsdale in Michigan, so not that far away, but a day's journey, to attend the CCA2, which is a series of lectures takes place over 5 days. It is a conference on ideas for fighting against the increasing demand for socialism. I'll be taking part in that. I'm not sure I can bring any footage of that, and my computer is... I probably won't be able to bring my computer to the conference, into the conference and events, but I will do some updates. I will be at Hillsdale College attending that conference, that seminar, until the 5th. I will leave the morning of the 6th. I will probably be back home on November 6th, probably late at night. So I will probably talk to everyone, make another video on the 7th. Till then, this is Kestrel Raptorial. Bye.